So let me turn on to the technology and the economy side. So I'll turn on to Ms. Lakmini Wijesundera. So Lakmini, I think in March, we saw in Sri Lanka, the employers and employee were busy learning Zoom and Teams. And not even 2 months, we saw now the mothers and children are learning Zoom. So the technological advancement, which would have taken 3 to 5 years in my personal view, I saw that happening in just 3 months. So the question is, will this trend continue, or will our people go back to brick and mortar? Or what is the great opportunity you see as a Sri Lankan technology entrepreneur as a result of this sudden change, the mindset towards the technological usage, Lakmini?
Sure, thank you very much, Sayandhan. What you rightly said is exactly the situation. So, I mean, technologies, some of them, as you mentioned, are commonly known ones like the video conferencing. There's like telemedicine. Now you see doctors across like a computer. You have the education. Then also you have like drones carrying things, because now people cannot have people have to have social distancing. There's drones, robotics, e-commerce. I mean, so many different areas. Our belief and the trend that we are seeing is that even when COVID ends, as we discussed, the mindset that changes doesn't really go back. So many of the people who actually had fear of using, let's say, this video conferencing and all these things, the likelihood that they will continue. Not all of them, but many of them will continue. And the important thing that you mentioned is the timing. Because now if you take internet usage or any of these statistics, in 2019 or early 20, we have a forecast. And we have a forecast that in 2025, it will be something. Now, suddenly, like you said, in 3 months, that forecast just busted. It's happened now. There has been no time for innovators even to take advantage of it yet. So as you can see, there's this huge number of people suddenly using these technologies, looking for things to do with it. And there's a catch-up time. There's like a vacuum of applications. So if you take the usage, I mean, if you take the internet users, you'll be surprised because 50.8% of all users globally is in Asia. And if you take USA, where we think the majority users are, there's only 7.5%, like about 300 million there. Whereas if you take Asia, there's 2.3 billion people. And remember, we are in Asia. So there's all these people, billions of people now using applications, never used it before probably, hardly used it before. Suddenly, they are this captive audience. They have needs. We don't even know what their needs are properly. Sometimes even they may not know what their needs are. So there's us in Sri Lanka, in Asia. I mean, this is like a fabulous situation. I mean, apart from the health situation, from an innovator's point of view, technology, I mean, you can't get better, right? So this is what we are seeing. So if you take BoatPack, which is a technology company doing certain things, I mean, we are globally in many countries, but we started in Sri Lanka. Actually, Nations Trust, it was a request by Nations Trust that we started. So the banking sector here took us. We went to Asia. We went to Malaysia first. So the top banks in Malaysia took us. This is, I'm talking about this 100% Sri Lankan technology. And as a DIG mentioned, I mean, the innovation capability in Sri Lanka is unbelievable. So after that, we went to many countries from Singapore. And I mean, the stories we have of India. Now, India is this big country, right? Right next to us. And we think that they have so much of technology, but even the Central Bank of India uses Sri Lankan technology. So it's basically, as you mentioned, the opportunity is incredible. There's so many things free, like for example, now we talk about funding. I'll briefly say it, even accelerators, funding accelerators in US, which you can't reach usually. You have to travel to US, stay there for a couple of months. I mean, you can't go, right? Nobody can go. So it's all equalized. Whether you're in Silicon Valley or whether you're in Sri Lanka, if you apply, you're going to be doing Zoom or Teams or something. So I really recommend like the young people, again, not young people, but anyone who's an innovator, to consider, exploring these things. And just before I end, just want to mention now, we are in 2020. So everybody talks about the 1900 and the Spanish flu. So imagine those people who were born in 1900. They went through Spanish flu, they went through the World War I in 1914, World War II, and that is the time that had the biggest innovations in that decade. From the automotive, the cars came, the airplanes came, the television came, internet came. So, I mean, this is our time, right? This is 2020, this decade. And I really think that it's really time for a country like Sri Lanka from Asia having this equalized opportunity. And a little story before I end is, even if you take the flight, some of you may know this, that this Mr. Langley, Samuel Langley, who was given $1 million at that time, this is like in 1900s, and given the best Harvard graduates, he didn't win. It was the Wright brothers who were from a bicycle shop that got the first flight. So this is kind of a story that a country like Sri Lanka, we mustn't, as the DIG rightly mentioned, it's all mindset. So we are going for it. We are going all the way to make like a top company, top #1 company. And similarly, we sort of encourage technology people to take this opportunity. So thank you, Sayandhan.
Okay, great to hear, and congratulations that you have tapped the Indian market and you have gone into the governments of India. And as you correctly said, I never thought, I mean, on another day, a conference or a seminar like this, we would be on stage in a 5-star hotel and people will be in front of us. Whereas today we are in 5 different locations connected, and the audience also in all over. So this is unbelievable. And this is the tech growth that we are talking of, which the COVID had made an impact already. So with that, I would like to focus back to Lakmini on the technological side. So you being a CEO of BoardPack, which is an export-driven Sri Lankan company providing corporate board meetings. And it's quite impressive to see that you have gone beyond 20 countries around the world. What has been your challenges and how would you view this future, especially in the new normalcy through your experience, Lakmini?
Thank you, Sayandhan. So before I even talk about challenges, I think I want to take a moment and sort of thank, I think the DIG and Doctor is here. So representing both the armed forces and healthcare. So from an economy or a business standpoint, I think we really have to appreciate how well the country has performed in containing this matter and the ongoing precautions. So it is with that I talk about the challenges, because if not for that, I think even this simplicity cannot be referred to. So thank you so much on behalf of all businesses really. The fact that, as you can see, I'm back in office. So the backdrop is my office, and we have a skeletal staff coming, as you mentioned. So really speaking, some of the largest challenges we had, some of them we passed, but of course some of them prevail. So challenges, the ironic thing is, since we are in IT and we are in like virtual boardrooms and board meetings, people just thought that our sales would like go up like completely. I mean, like theoretically, yes, but the actual situation is these are our original business model is large companies. So, and they were, as you mentioned, in many countries, like cities were like Mumbai, which is still on lockdown, South Africa, Malaysia, Singapore, etc. Everybody's, I mean, we are a lot better in Sri Lanka. Many of them are still locked down. So it was very difficult to actually even get a sale done in terms of completing any of our activities. But something I also want to mention, and I encourage our software youth and people to get into, because we do a product. So we are not totally dependent on our sales. I mean, we are in order to complete our expenses, but there is revenue coming because some part of what we earn is from our existing customers, and that's from a product that we develop and push forward. So in that sense, our challenges are there, and the first thing that we looked at is we have our staff, and the staff had to be, the teams had to be looked after, mindset, health, all that. So we did the work from home. Now we are slowly coming back. And we felt that, I mean, when it's a technology company, our biggest asset, the company, is our people. And I mean, it's not really the walls. We left this office and went for like a couple of, almost like 8 weeks, and only came back now. And so looking after and making sure, so when the armed forces and the government is looking after the overall country, we felt it is our duty, or nationalistic duty, to make sure that we as a family or a group, we look after everybody, obviously within our challenges. So that's where the challenges come in. But I always see the opportunity, especially being in teleco. The challenges are because of the way we had worked before. So we've pivoted now. We are actually looking at different types of companies we can directly, without doing face-to-face. We've just started a lot of campaigns on internet. Some of it slowly is seeing some good news. And that is another thing I'd like to encourage, because this equalizing factor. Now, whether you're in New York, whether you're a US person, or whether you're wherever you are, you're equal to a Sri Lankan in Colombo, because no one can travel. Everyone's on lockdown, right? So, and this window, we have to take the opportunity, because in a couple of weeks, in a couple of months, this window is not going to be there. They will be able to travel back to their companies, have their coffee, make their relationships. So this is the time. So we are really working hard to try and capture that moment before lockdowns end in these other countries. And hopefully, so that's a kind of pivoting. I mean, there's so many things we do, but something I'd like to share in this short time frame, that all of us should really pivot. We should change. And I always believe that, I mean, the local market we always start huge globally, and we are so good at what we do technologically. I'm talking Sri Lanka, that we really should take the whole opportunity. So that's kind of the challenge and the opportunity that I see for our company. So I hope that was adequate, Sayandhan, in terms of a response.
Yes. Thank you so much. And speaking of BoatPack, I'm personally using it, and the experience, in my view, is wow. I don't want to say anything more. So let me turn back to Dr. Let me turn back to Dr. The businesses were down last month, and still we are not got back to the normal situation where the businesses and the revenue is concerned. So economy is also down. So what role can a SME sector play to revive this situation?
Thank you, Sayandhan. So if you take Sri Lanka, I mean, it's an enormous number of companies that constitute SME. It's over 1 million. I mean, compared to the larger companies, which is some 1,400. When I saw the last statistics, there's over 1 million SME companies. If you take the population of the working population, over 50% of that population actually is in SME. So these SME includes micro, and that's, I mean, even if you're like a individual person or having 1 or 2 people, to companies which have a couple of thousand people, that whole thing is under SME. So in my view, really, I mean, when we looked at, so we fall under SME. Most IT companies, technology companies fall under SME. And what really happens is, I mean, these million different organizations of different sizes, we kind of looked at it. If half of our population of working people are looked after by these million companies, then automatically more than half of the population in Sri Lanka is sort of looked after. And in a sense, while the armed forces and the healthcare is doing such a nationalistic job, from an economic standpoint, we felt that we have to look after the team, the staff, whether we have 100, 200, whatever the number, if we all did our contribution and looked after the people in our care, automatically over half the population is, in a sense, somewhat economically looked after. But having said that, Sayandhan, I mean, as you mentioned, when the revenue goes down, I mean, where's the money to give people? So that issue is there. Of course, the government helped us a little. I mean, we cannot expect a government such as a Sri Lankan government to be financially like Australia or USA, where they, you know, what I heard is they are pumping money for like months. But we have to be realistic. So I think they did what they can. It may not, you know, be sufficient completely, but efforts are being made. I mean, we also benefited from that. So in that sense, initially it's a nationalistic responsibility. So SMEs are the bigger workforce. So starting from that, thereafter, some of the key things that we looked at is the staff health, mindset, fear, things like that. That was talked about both by the DIG and the doctor. We tried to create a sort of a fearless or a secure situation while people were working from home, especially while working from home. And now of course, the people that we're trying to get people back to office as soon as possible so that we can have some level of normalcy. That is actually what you see here at the backdrop, because we're trying to, you know, actually next week more people will come. There again, as you all mentioned, like the health officer situation, we have a team. We have like a COVID watch team who basically looks and finds out what's going on with other companies, what the government is saying, things like that. And then we formulate and sort of have a single voice in the company, telling everybody this is what we should do. I mean, I don't know whether we're always right, but we try to, you know, it's a collective people of about 4 or 5 people. So, so far, I think we've done fairly well. And this is sort of what I'm sort of thinking, if the SMEs all look after their teams and people the way they can and have good communication, not sort of have anyone left behind in a sense, that would really save our country until, you know, this is going to go on until the vaccine anyway. And we'll have to sort of learn to, you know, wear the masks, social distancing. It's been really difficult, especially coming back to office, because we are so not used to that. But, you know, we have enforced rules. So that's what it is. And so a couple of things that sort of maybe the government or the country can do for us is, I mean, holidays. Even tomorrow is, fortunately, it's not a mercantile holiday, because we now when we come back to work, we have to work double harder. And if the country has holidays, it's going to be really tough for us because we can't enforce working, no? And, you know, looking after people. So things like that. So there's a couple of peripheral things to be done. But I of course, really feel the SME plays a role to keep the population, working population, looked after. So that's my take on it, Sayandhan.
Okay, thank you so much. And I hope the SME becomes the engine of growth for where Sri Lankan economy is concerned.
Yes.